in LA for over a decade. Got involved with WITI a couple of years ago and have just really played in that new technology space for quite a few years now. And so wanted to talk to you guys about, the growth of AI and kind of the history today. My last role was at Waymo. I was at Google in Venice Beach as a policy person for the autonomous vehicle department. So my job was to go out to local politicians, nonprofits, and so forth to really discuss the benefits of these autonomous vehicles in the city of Los Angeles. And so it was really a lobbying job without being a lobbyist at the time. Super fun. And it was really great to be at the forefront of this new technology and getting to ride in these vehicles. And so today we're just going to continue that conversation about AI. And of course, jump in with questions. This doesn't need to be a super formal thing. If raise your hand, I'm happy to answer. Or you can put your questions in the chat and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Okay. And I think I've met most people here, but I'm David Layton. I'm co-founder and president of WITI. I'm up in Arroyo Grande, California. When I first met you, Zubi, we had lunch in Santa Maria or coffee or something, right?
Yeah.
And then, there wasn't ChatGPT hadn't come out yet. So how the world has changed now, huh?
I know. And that wasn't even that long ago. And now their new model as of this week can think like a human and solve complex problems. So the world is spinning faster every day.
Yes. And then, so as far as, the question now is AI gonna take my job? I'd love to hear what you think about that.
Sure. So I'm going to open with a quote that I heard or I read this morning from the LA Times, because I like to have to the hour updates when I give these kind of talks. And so there was an article this morning, you guys, I'm sure can look it up, talking about the implementation of AI in the fast food space. And here is what the Shake Shack CEO had to say. Today, instead of replacing workers, companies deploy kiosks to transfer labor to other tasks, handling off pickup orders, helping to increase sales, and easily adjusting prices to speed up service. So I just thought that was a quick, up-to-date discussion on, okay, taking orders at the cashier may be gone, but now they're being shifted to back of house, right? So just because AI is taking one job doesn't mean these workers will be completely out of the picture. Also, they have found that AI is increasing their sales. So a lot of times when you order at McDonald's or what have you on a screen, you can say, I want a burger or I want a Hugo's taco, and it will give you suggestions for other things you can order. So companies are using this to upsell. So I thought that was really smart. And again, a great way to increase revenue. So that's kind of I'm going to go back in history for a second here. This has been a topic for hundreds of years. What's going to happen to my job? I am terrified. Of course, everyone thinks of the Industrial Revolution right away. People were afraid of simple things, washing machines, dishwashers, maybe not dishwashers. We didn't have that early, but, factories using machines to create things faster. And again, what that created was an economic opportunity for people to move into new roles, to learn how to use these machines. So again, their job really changed. In this country, if it weren't for things like the locomotive, we wouldn't have had Western expansion from the East Coast to the West. If you look back in time, when rail lines were being placed, people were afraid of this unknown territory. We didn't know what was really past, the Mississippi River for a long time. And the rail lines replacing, the horse and buggy created a way for people to come out west. A great example of that, and this is one of my favorites, is if you look at Death Valley, which is in California. It's a national park. For hundreds of years, it was a mining town. You used mules to extract minerals and things like borax that you guys probably have in your laundry room. From there, the rail lines come in, okay? And then more and more factories extracting minerals and resources from the earth come in. From there, and this is really cool, the Air Force comes in. And now it's the frontier of testing jets and space technology in that region. And the cool thing is, to this day, you can see all three still in action. You can still see people utilizing horsepower and carts and buggies, believe it or not. You can still see the trains coming through Death Valley, and you can see the jets. And so it's just really cool to see this technology still in place to this day. If it weren't for healthcare modernization, we wouldn't have had created more roles. Back in, and I'm stealing this information from a class I took last night. In the 30s and 40s, we basically had general practitioners across the country. As things developed, MRI machines, X-ray machines, and so forth needed people, those machines were invented and we needed people to run them. And so now we're using AI to even read some of these scans. So just because you have a job doesn't mean you're going to lose it. It's just going to look a little different as the decades go on. And there's a million other examples. If you have any questions about others, I'm happy to, talk offline about those as well.
Yeah, and I think, we've certainly been hearing this a lot at WITI about, fear of AI taking jobs. I think it certainly will affect, I think, all industries, all titles. I think for people that don't want to, learn about AI, it's probably going to take their job. Does anybody have any comments, or has it affected their jobs? Do they have robot cooks at Hugo's now, Rich? Or I know you're retired, but you still own part of it. But
No, but I've been thinking, even though I am retired from it, how does AI affect that kind of business?
yeah.
And so I'm glad for what I just heard, just to hear, because I don't, yeah, I've been trying to think, how does AI
Well, I
come into
think in
play with this?
Pasadena, isn't there like the whole automated
Yeah,
restaurant
but
thing?
Yeah.
Right, but you still need the humans there,
it's
right?
not
But
that as much as, to do something like that, you need the capital to do that. We've already have systems where we have guys who are cooking, it's like to get the capital, to raise the capital, to change that all out with it.
well, or the company's just going to come in and lease the equipment, because now if you think of the considerable amount of savings they can have,
Right.
and lack of drama, and no one's sick, and blah blah blah, right? Like Alexis, who's a friend who's part of this community, who's going to be starting our coding with AI community soon, but he uses AI as his engineers now. He can talk to them. He wakes up in the middle of the night and wants to program. He's more of an architect leader. He can now just do that. No lunch. No, I'm not available. No, I'm sick. Right? How have you used it, Zubi?
Well, let me just say this, to carry on, but the idea that you suggested about how it could take the phone calls and help suggest or upsell, um, then it starts clicking in my brain. Now that's a real use.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
So
I would think an easy one, right? You could upload the menu onto like a touch screen if you go into McDonald's, like they have it, and then program it to suggest things. I'm trying to think of a local place
Well,
around here that where you could go see this in action. I think most McDonald's, I know the McDonald's in Carpinteria has it. I know that's kind of a hike for us, but
well,
and I was also thinking too, um, in the 60s at NASA, they had a lot of folks, doing longhand mathematical problems. And then guess what came in? The IBM, and everyone was afraid of this big computer. And then so they trained their staff to use the machine instead. So again, another example of your job not changing, just you learning to use the tool that's going to help you.
And even how other restaurants use it. I think Wendy's put in digital pricing so that they can, so the pricing will change based on time of day and things they want to move faster if they don't have employees, right? I mean, it's an interesting way to like manage just customers and everything else, right? So there's multiple ways. And I think, for somebody that comes from the restaurant industry and now understanding all these tools, is it can replace the cooks, like Rich is saying? Yeah, that will probably be a while. Is a small hamburger, person that owns a few restaurants like Hugo's going to automatically change the whole model and spend millions of dollars on machines? Probably not immediately. But I think, what are you seeing up in McMinnville, Holly?
Actually, we have a robot company here in Salem, not in McMinnville itself per se, but I have been actually getting promoted, all this promotion of, be a reseller for our restaurant robot. Because I'm a channels person as well in my other business besides what I do with WITI. And I think it's kind of interesting because, in Japan, they've been doing it for quite some time now, having restaurants that either are, I mean, just think about it. You can go in Japan and you can go to like they're like these things where you buy like, what are they called? When you put in your number and the candy pops out.
Vending machine.
Thank you, vending machine. I couldn't think of the word. Yeah, but they have these vending machines where real people are behind and they're loading these things up, but you put in your number and boom, out comes this food that you're buying, you can see it. Now robots are going around and they're actually taking drink orders and they're delivering the food directly to the table. And they've been doing this for a while in Japan. So we're kind of behind the times. In some of that, there are some restaurants that are starting to think about doing that. And when you think about the QRS, the quick service restaurant, QSR, when you think about from that perspective, they're trying all different kinds of things, right? And during COVID, they started trying a lot of different things too, so that they could have like touchless service, places where you could pick your orders up. How they were dealing with theft around that was a big problem. You still need people, but the people change the job they're doing, the roles of their, I think. I also think that it also we still need the human interaction, I believe. I don't think that's going to go away. When we saw automation in the automobile industry, we just got a different level of a skilled worker, right? The skilled workers changed. But we got higher quality production coming out, right? Well, that's the theory anyway. David, were you saying something? You're on mute.
Sorry. And yeah, I think like what Jess is saying, right? It's ordering, it's predictive ordering, predictive when you need people to work, ingredients, keeping, just ordering what you need, not throwing away food. Because we talked about, I know Carolina's very involved in climate change. And then there's the electricity issue that the big LLMs are using. But then if they can save, fashion industry, right? So we've had some talks about AI fashion and how much waste it saves there. And so it's going to be an interesting next several years for sure.
So does anyone think that there is a philosophy that's going around that robots will be doing the work and humans will be receiving checks? I'm just going to ask that question. Has anyone heard that philosophy?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say, programmers for sure, right? Like there's even an issue with people from other countries interviewing for jobs at bigger companies. Then they'll get hired. Somebody else will be doing the work, right? And but right, why wouldn't you just now with the coding and all the progress that's been made in the coding space, why wouldn't somebody just be an interviewer and then set up their AIs to do the coding for the client?
I see Ram has their hand up. Sorry,
Ram,
my
also.
apologies.
Oh, you're good.
No problem. So have you guys heard of UBI, the Andrew Yang's proposal, Universal Basic Income?
Oh, yes, yeah.
I was just thinking
Yep.
that.
That's
Yep,
what I was referring to, actually.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that.
Yeah.
it's a
So
big topic.
yeah, I know. So independent of all the political discussions we could be having, which would be amazing, by the way, but putting that aside, think of like 100 years from now in the future. Do you think every human will just be sitting idle and not doing anything? Like that's just not possible, right? As people, we constantly have itches to scratch. We'll keep trying to do things and all that. So inevitably, whether we keep getting some basic level of income and services we can depend on and all that, which I think won't happen. But even if it does, we won't be sitting idle. Or people 100 years from now will be doing other things. They will find some hill interesting and want to climb it or break it down or something like that, right? So that will in turn cause more innovation, more new ideas to pop up, more new ways to mess with the world. I don't know. Go to the moon faster, go to the Mars faster, things like that.
That's why equity needs to be so important, right? When we think about that. And we think about it in our country, in the United States, to whatever extent. No political statement here, but we think about it to some extent, or it's almost a given in the way that we communicate or we function on a human level. But in other countries, it's